first thing you do when you read a bill is you see if it lines up with the Constitution. If it is unconstitutional, no matter how much you save, no matter how much your people want it, no matter what everybody wants, you vote no. The Constitution is a line drawn in the sand. The government's allowed to come this farther, no farther. Once again, we hear politicians talking about things that are unconstitutional. You know, Republicans up in Washington, we have some Republicans up in Washington that want to grow the government just slower. We can't live like that anymore. We have got to completely put us back to the confinements of the Constitution. Thomas Jefferson said that we should break everything down to where every farmer runs his own farm. See, government close to the people is more effective than government in Washington, D.C. So the first thing that has to be done is this constitutional. If this is unconstitutional, it doesn't matter if it's popular. It doesn't matter if it's going to save you $1. This is a vote no, because this is what our government is founded on. You know, all of us, actually said no, none of us are going to be experts. Actually, I've been in business management. I know how to hire people. I know how to hire people to do my job. I don't think I really run my business. I help other people run my business. There's some great people up here that I would love to have on the staff because I know that they will keep me in line. And if I think about swaying or something, they'll snap me back in line and put me in there. I think we have a great group of candidates. And I would be honored to have any of these people on my staff because I know that they would help keep us in line and keep us moving in the conservative, constitutional direction.
Woodrow Wilson said to understand Congress is understand the committee system. Once you go to Congress, you're appointed to certain committees, and it's in those committees that you develop a certain sense of expertise. I wish I could stand before you and tell you I'm smart enough that I know everything about every bill that would come before us. But the fact is that there are people that have certain expertise, and you go to those people. I already have those relationships. I've testified before Congress a number of times, not just the 3-minute brief testimonies, but where you've been grilled for an hour at a time. There are people that I have respect for, like Mike Pence, like Jimmy Jordan. I come from a wrestling family, and that's how I first met Jimmy Jordan at Ohio State University, where my son was wrestling. Jimmy is a conservative. I have respect for him. When there's issues that I don't know about, I'm going to go to them. But first of all, I'm going to get input from the people in the district, the constituents. Sometimes congressmen have access to information that the constituents don't have, and especially in international and intelligence matters. That information has to be balanced. But philosophically, I know where our district is at. I've sat in the offices when the calls come in, and it's not a good way of passing legislation by saying that, well, we got 119 calls for and 100 calls against, because people can be marshaled to do those calls. They can game the system. You have to have a feel for the district. I have a good feel for this district. I've traveled it for 25 years. I've fished in the Wahunding River. I've hunted in the hills here. I know the people in Jackson County. I've been to every fair, virtually every airport. I've been in your homes and in your farms. And with the current technology, communication is even better. And you get a sense for who's gaming you, too. I will use all those communication techniques. When I'm in Congress, I'll rely on the expertise that's available from other people, and I will always put my district first when I go to vote. Thank you.
That great theologian Woody Hayes, you guys remember Woody Hayes, don't you? That great theologian Woody Hayes says you win with people. I remember back August when I was making the decision. Actually, I was riding my lawnmower and things were so loud. I'm just thinking to myself. I get off my lawnmower, walk in the house. I told my wife, I said, honey, I think I'm going to go sleep outside Zach Space's office. She rolls her eyes and walks up to the chair. So I found out during that time that not only was Zach Space not responsive, but his staff wasn't very kind. Somewhere along the line, they forgot I was their employer. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put together a group of people, a team, if you will, that represent what I believe, my values, and will treat the constituents as human beings. Let's be honest. This district goes from New Philadelphia to Cambridge to Athens. I'd need 7 cars to cover that. For me to say, I'm going to be at your door and answering all your telephone calls, I'm not going to do that. But I'm going to put together a group of people, a team, that's going to operate in a way that's going to be honorable into this district. You know, I had somebody say something to me the other night. Some of you are probably thinking about this right now. I got this hat on. I had a guy come up to me one of the breaks and says, you know, Coach, I really like what you say, but you need to take that hat off. I said, why is that, sir? He said, well, you have to understand that your faith sometimes offends a lot of people. I said, well, listen, I'm not after those people.
That's right.
You understand? I'm tired of having people tell me that my views aren't welcome in the public debate just because they happen to be faith-based. And I believe there are those of you in this room who agree with me that you are tired of your faith being besmirched. And that I think that the right to put into office a man of faith who's going to stand up, not cower, not bow, and how about this? They say, Coach, no experience, no political experience. I said, that's right. I just got a lot of experience in being honest. That's all we need.
Well, a lot of people can say what they're going to do, and I'm the only one up here that has an actual track record, and I'll tell you how it really does work. As a legislator for I'm in my 8th year now, I always felt like I'm a big funnel, and all this information's coming in, and I got to decide to try to decide what's the best policy for my Senate district and the people of Ohio. And how that works. First of all, when the legislative process is allowed to work, it's a great process. What I mean by that, if leadership allows the committees to operate and hear the bills, and people come in and testify for and against interested parties, it can be a real learning experience. And the bills that I've introduced in my tenure in the legislature, almost all of them, not all of them, have had amendments or substitute bills because I come up, maybe somebody brings an idea to me that wants legislation, and so I got the general concept, so I introduce something. But during the legislative process, other people with other interests come in, stakeholders that have interest in that legislation, and you get a broader ideas, and that's why you end up with amendments and substitute bills, because you're making the bill better. And you know, you've got to rely a little bit on your colleagues, and you got to know which colleagues you can rely on, because it was said here earlier, and it's absolutely true. There's nobody in this room that can be an expert in all the subjects. And of course, at the federal level, they deal with everything. At the state level, I like to say we deal with everything except national defense, and that affects the Ohioans. And so you can't be an expert. Obviously, I have some expertise in certain areas, and I have to rely on some of my colleagues. But you have to know those colleagues, and if they got the same philosophical beliefs and core conservative values that I have, you can rely on them, and then usually you're all right. And how it works. Every week when the Congress is in session, I know this because I've actually had an opportunity to sit in on one, and we do the same thing in the State House, the caucuses. We meet as a group, and we find out what bills are coming up on the agenda, and we have discussion, because that sometimes there's bills in other committees and you're not involved with it, because there's just so much you can't. You get to hear, you sit there and listen to the debates. Lots of times there is debates, and people will be raising issues and why are we doing this and what's good about that. But one thing I learned in my early tenure in the Ohio House of Representatives was, in those caucuses, a couple things happen, and this is the way it should work. The first issue that comes up, if there's any question if that bill is constitutional, that's number one. If it's not constitutional, then we should kill it. Okay? The second question that comes up after we answer the first question is it good for the people of Ohio? In this case, good for the people of the United States. It's a good policy. It's a good public policy that makes sense. Okay? If it meets those first two questions, the third question that comes up is it good politically? That's last on the agenda. They make that clear. And so you need to work through, and I've always had an open door policy. I've never turned down a meeting if anybody wants to meet with me in my State House district. Sometimes we have to reschedule because scheduling conflicts. But I have an open door policy. If you notice, if you ask me tonight, on my campaign business card here, I have all my contact information, my cell phone number, my landline home phone number, my email, everything. And I try to answer what I can. And when I got in the Senate, we can't answer everything personally, everything. My staff, we talk about it, and they send out the emails, but I know what's going out, and I know what their answers are. That's how you got to work with your staff. And I also got to work with our policy. And the people here up in Homecoming, my name's in the phone book. Thank you.